Các bạn có nghe không? Okay. Alright. Mọi người nãy giờ mới set up xong cái cái sự kiện sân khấu. Anh không biết nãy bị làm gì mà bấm tổ chức sân khấu không có được. Bây giờ thì mới ok rồi nè. Rồi chào các bạn nha. Bạn nào vào rồi thì có thể ghi hình. Những bạn nào có phân công ấy thì bạn đó ghi hình giúp. Rồi. Rồi, trong khi chờ các bạn vẫn đủ á, mình có một cái trò chơi cho các bạn nha. Chúng ta sẽ tìm hiểu về Việt Nam một chút. Chúng ta sẽ chơi trên Quizy. Hy vọng là mọi thứ thuận lợi. Có tìm hiểu về chủ đề của buổi ngày hôm nay chưa? Bạn nào có rồi các bạn cho một cái dấu chấm lên trên phần chat giúp mình nè. Các bạn có biết hôm nay sẽ có những ai chia sẻ rồi có những cái chủ đề gì không? Thấy có ba bạn. Ồ vậy hả? Ok. Hello everyone. So I just think our participant is Vietnamese, so I just use Vietnamese for easier to communicate with you guys in the beginning of our sharing session today. Because we are in the time of waiting other participants to engage with us, so I have some ice-breaking games for you to enjoy. Um, the some kind of information about our nation, Vietnam. Okay, so now just turn on Quizy and I will share you a link. Để mình khởi động đầu giờ ha, thì thầy sẽ mình sẽ gửi cho các bạn một cái đường link Quizy để chúng ta chơi một cái trò chơi để tìm hiểu về đất nước Việt Nam. Việt Nam sẽ là một trong những chủ đề hôm nay chúng ta có đề cập đến. Rồi các bạn có thể bấm click vào cái đường link ha. Mình đã thêm một bạn. và thêm thêm nhiều bạn khác nữa nhé. Các bạn có thể quét mã QR trên màn hình nhé. Rồi, mình thấy bữa hôm nay có đến 11 bạn đang lắng nghe lận nè. À, mà chỉ mới có 4 bạn tham gia thôi, các bạn còn lại tranh thủ đi. Quý Quốc Dũng, Quang, đấy. How about you guys? Are you ready for the quizzes? Okay. Okay, I think we could start. The winner, it is Ngọc Quý. Okay, congratulations. Các bạn có thể để cái icon vỗ tay vào trong phần chat ha, để chúc mừng bạn Ngọc Quý của chúng ta đã là người trả lời đúng nhiều câu hỏi. Thì chính là bạn Tiên, và là Dũng Handsome. Okay, congratulations to you guys. Okay, so now let's take a quick check about our questions. The first one is super easy, right? What does the Vietnam flag look like? It is the final one, right? Super easy. The next, the capital of Vietnam is Hanoi, right? What is Vietnam's main language? Of course, it's Vietnamese. Yes. And where's Vietnam in Asia, right? And what's this food? Someone just answered wrong this question. Um, it is phở. Yes, it is phở. And some people will be confused between phở and bún bò Huế. Bún, the bún and phở is all made from rice noodles, but the size of the string is different from each other. Yes, so we can see phở and bún in reality by buying that or you can search Google image. Sợi bún thì của chúng ta nó sẽ tròn hơn, còn sợi phở nó sẽ dẹp hơn ha. Rồi, what's the national flower of Vietnam? Lotus flower. Okay. And what's a special occasion? That holiday, right? And what's the tallest building in Vietnam? Landmark 81 in Ho Chi Minh City. Okay. And what's the traditional costume in Vietnam? Oh yeah, of course. Kimono is the traditional costume of which country? Do you guys know? Kimono is from which country? Okay, it's from Japan, right? Very good. Where's Ben Thanh Market? It's in Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, everyone is correct. Okay, and it is our 10 question is super easy, right? And it's just the ice-breaking questions for us to, know again. It's like we review the knowledge of our Vietnam nation. Trò chơi này là để chúng ta có thể hình dung lại được thêm một cách rõ nét hơn về những cái đặc điểm nổi bật của Việt Nam. Và buổi ngày hôm nay ha, chúng ta sẽ có một cái chủ đề. Our main topic today is bridging cultures between US and Vietnam connections. Chúng ta sẽ nói khá là nhiều về văn hóa Mỹ, về những cái đặc điểm của ngoại giao giữa Mỹ và Việt Nam, và chúng ta cũng nói về nền giáo dục của Mỹ. Vậy thì để tìm hiểu về nước Mỹ thì chúng ta cũng cần phải nắm được những cái kiến thức, những cái thông tin của Việt Nam, và chúng ta tìm kiếm cái sự liên kết của tụi nó như thế nào. We will identify the connections or relations between them, which is US and Vietnam, in our sharing session today. Okay, so before we get started, I would like to introduce the two hosts of us today. Thái Bảo, yes, he will be the host for the first session of our sharing session today. It is about the United States education and culture. And I will be the host for the second. It is about the US and Vietnam diplomacy. Okay, so now I can see, yes, our speaker in the first sharing session, it is Alaya Andrew. Okay, so now we can give her a big applause for her appearance. Okay, hi, Alaya Andrews. You can raise your hand. Okay, you go on the stage.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we're hearing very well.
Okay, great. everybody. My name's
Okay,
Aaliyah
and
Andrews. Let me
okay,
get my
you know,
screen.
just there are some
Okay.
techniques mistake. Okay,
Can
okay.
you
Hi,
see my
Alaya
screen?
Andrews. Yes, it is loading, but just wait for some seconds. Thế
There we
Bảo
go.
will introduce some more information about you and also your presentation today.
Hello? Can you guys hear me clearly? Hi. Nice to see you back, Andrew. Do you do you hear me? Andrew? Hello,
Yeah,
Hi,
hello.
I can hear you.
Andrews.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Sorry.
okay, let me just introduce you to our members. So, hello everyone. It's the second week of our EchoLingo project. We hope to participate in many English challenges and classes, such as English Make Easy on Monday and the To Be Club on Wednesday. Your English skills are improving better with each passing day. As you might have read our poster for tonight's conference, we are honored to welcome two of our speakers, Laya Andrews and Johnson Pham. So there's actually another international guest, which is an Chinese friend of mine. She's from China. She's in the chat room right now. She's Mrs. Wu. I just want to mention her. So to start off the night, we will start with our lovely uh, Andrew. She is an American and has a very interesting topic today, which is her home, which is United States, the U.S., her home state culture, mainly in Indiana, right? As I
Yeah,
remember,
correct.
yeah, and her education at her uh, university, Indiana University. So yeah, so right now it's your stage to shine, Andrew.
Okay.
Welcome you. Welcome you to the
Yeah, thank
stage. Huge clap.
you. Um, Hi everybody. My name is Aaliyah Andrews. First off, I just really want to thank everybody for coming to this and allowing me to sit here and chat with you guys about a little bit about the US and about my life. So I'm really excited for that. And then I also just want to thank everyone and EchoLingo too, just for reaching out to me and giving me this opportunity to share my story. So yeah, I'm really excited. If you guys have any questions at any point throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll get to them probably after I like finish going over the information on that slide. And then I also was planning on doing a Q&A at the end of the slideshow as well. So we can also do that if you don't have questions. But my time is your guys' time, so feel free to ask me as many questions as you'd like. Um, I'm here for you guys.
Hmm,
So sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to navigate all of this stuff. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
maybe
All right,
it's your internet connection. We
mine.
still haven't seen your presentation yet. It's
Oh,
still
can you see it
loading.
now?
Still loading.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
I see it now. Okay. Continue. Sorry.
great. All right. So here's just a little bit about me. So I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is considered the second biggest city in Indiana. Um, I went to state school, which is basically the school that is in your state. Um, yeah, and then I grew up with a pretty big family. Um, both of my parents though are divorced, but I still have great I guess family atmosphere with both my mom and my dad and both of my families on both sides. So that didn't really affect me too much, but I know in Vietnam the culture for like divorce and whatnot isn't really like a big thing very much. So I thought that would be interesting to put in there just because in the United States divorce is like always happening, I feel like, which is sad, but it's very normal in the US. Um, um, but yeah, so that's yeah. So I have one younger sister. She's my half sister. So we have different dads but the same mom. And then I graduated with a bachelor's, like said earlier, from Indiana University. And right now I'm currently getting ready to go back to school to further my education, to become a nurse. So yeah. But I was also gonna conclude a little bit more. Sorry. So yeah, I was gonna talk a little bit more about like my family, things like that. Um, so in this little picture here, I'm really close with my grandparents in that photo. And then there's my mom next to me, and then my younger sister, and then my dad is on the far left side. Um, um, I'm pretty close with both my mom and my dad. I'm definitely way more closer with my mom. I live with her full time throughout all of my years of life. And then would just like visit with my dad on the weekends, things like that. So that's kind of just a little bit about my background. Okay. Um, so I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Midwest culture. So I live in Indiana, which is in the Midwest. There's like a handful of states that Um, it's like the middle area of the United States getting ready to go to the West, if that makes any sense. Um, so I live in Indiana. I kind of put some little bullet points about like what I thought the Midwest culture kind of brought. I think that we're very friendly. And I would say like the culture in the Midwest is very friendly. The Midwest has a few big cities, but those cities don't really portray like the big city feel or stereotype. So it's very um just everybody's nice, like hospitable. There we go. um and then we all just have like a really strong community. Um my hometown is a larger city than like a town that I went to high school in. The town that I went to high school in, or the town that I went to college in is like more southern Indiana, and so it's pretty small. But my town that like I was born in is really big. Um, so yeah, we have like a big, strong community. I would say like in the Midwest, there tends to be lots of community gatherings, which help strengthen like the bonds in your town or city. These gatherings are like outdoor markets, festivals, things like that. Places to like just get together. Like food vendors are normally at these things. So we do a lot of just like getting the community together and just to get everybody in the same place and create more friendships, create bonds, things like that. Um, yeah, I think that what I was saying that like I think the Midwest is very family oriented. I think family is like obviously a big deal in like other like states and whatnot, but in the Midwest, I think that it's just kind of like hits a little bit different. I guess it's an essential camaraderie that I think that occurs in the United States or in the Midwest. Um, I just think that we tend to have a little bit more like frequent family gatherings that focus just specifically on spending time with one another. I feel like in other states, people are just, I don't know, not as close with their family, but I could be biased because I'm from the Midwest. But yeah. I think that the Midwest also I have on there is a sport enthusiast. I think that in the Midwest we take our sports extremely seriously, especially basketball. I live in Indiana, so Indiana is known as like the basketball state. So I guess many of the residents just take a lot of pride in what sports team they align themselves with. So, um, but basically, if you are a basketball fan and you live in Indiana, you're probably gonna be vouching for your team like all the time, and you wouldn't want to get in an argument with somebody from the Midwest about basketball. Let's just say that. um, yeah. Oh, and then I also just thought that it was kind of neat to put in like the changing of seasons and farming and stuff like that because the Midwest is known for farming, basically. Like I basically have corn in my backyard. It's absurd. But and then just the changing of the seasons I think is really neat. In the Midwest, you don't really get a whole lot of well, like in the Midwest, you get a fall, a winter, a spring, and a summer. Whereas like in other states that you can be living in, you don't really get all of that. Like you just get basically summer, like if you're living in Florida or if you're living down south, it's a lot more warm than in the Midwest. So I just think that's super neat that you get to experience all aspects of changes. I kind of put some photos in here of like um the middle top one is like a tree and there's like snow and stuff that but like this all the signs on this tree is so Midwest, like friends, family, softball, being grateful. And then the one below that is uh in the fall, which is super beautiful when the leaves start to turn. And then um in the Midwest, things just hit a little bit differently. So remember, cowboy like yeehaw. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I was rereading that. Yeah, we're very country for sure here, I would say. Okay. All right, so now I just kind of wanted to cover a little bit about my family. So mm, I have a really big family, just especially with my parents being divorced. I have lots of grandparents, like just it's a lot of people, I guess. And my dad has a really big side of the family, and especially, and my mom does too. Like I was saying, that like divorce is very, I guess, normal in the United States. Um, generation. Yeah, so but because divorce is just very big in the United States, like I have a lots of cousins that aren't related to me. They're only related to me through marriage. So I just have lots of cousins through that way on both my mom and my dad's side. Yeah. So my house, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about just kind of like my living conditions, things like that. So my house is a one-story like ranch style house. We have three bedrooms and one bathroom. So I grew up in this house with just my mom and my sister. So it was just me and her, me, my mom, and my sister. So we really didn't need too much space for just us. Um, but like I said, like I grew up with separated parents, so it was just me and my mom, and my sister. Um, um, sorry, I have some notes on here. So yeah, I have one sister. She's my half sister. So we have different dads with the same mom. And I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm really close with my grandparents. Uh, they practically like raised me at one point. My grandma would always babysit me and look after me when my mom was going to work, things like that. And with my parents not being together, not being married, and I wasn't really around my dad too much. My grandpa actually kind of stepped in and became that father figure for me. And he like taught me how to ride a bike, like taught me how to play sports, like things like that. So my grandpa was a lot of like my father figure in my life. But yeah, my grandparents just supported me in anything I did, wanting me to chase my dreams, things like that. Um, which was super great. So growing up, my mom was a high school, or my mom was an elementary school teacher. And then my dad was a welder. My mom actually recently just went back to school to get her master's, and now she is an assistant principal at a high school. Super funny story though. My mom is now the assistant principal at a high school, and my younger sister just started high school like 2 years ago. So my mom is like in charge of my younger sister at home and at school, which I think is kind of funny to think about. Um, but yeah, that's a little bit about my family. All right, so I kind of want to go over just my education as well. So I went to elementary, middle school, and high school. Um, I'm not sure. Yeah. So I went to elementary, middle school, and high school. I actually ended up transferring high schools my freshman year when I was in ninth grade, because my mom worked in a school system that was in the school system that the high school I wanted to go to. So I transferred because of that. And I also transferred to this school because they had a really good sports program and I wanted to play softball there. So I really wanted to do that. So I mainly transferred because I wanted to play softball there and just compete with other people. So I did go to public school. Um, okay, yeah, so I did go to public school. Um, can you guys still see my slides? Sorry. Oh, no. Now you can see it. Oh my gosh, sorry. I need to start letting it load a little bit longer. Sorry, everybody. Um, I did go to public school. In the United States, we have like public school and private school. I don't know if you guys have something like that, but in public school, basically, it's just schooling that's provided by the state. It's by the law, like they have to provide schooling. And then private school is a school that you can go to and you would pay a certain amount of money to, it would almost be like going to university, like paying um a certain amount of money to go to this private school. But I didn't do private school. I did public school. Private school is so expensive too. But they always have really good sports programs in the United States, which is really funny. Um So I did 4 years of undergrad college at Indiana University. Um, so at Indiana, I actually ended up, so I went to Indiana from 2020 to 2024. I played softball actually at Indiana University. My main drive to excel in college sports was just due to how like pricey school can be. So I thought that by getting a scholarship, it would be more likely for me to go to a prestigious university than just like a smaller university in like my hometown. Um, so at Indiana, I was fortunate enough to gain an athletic scholarship where I completed my bachelor's of science in applied health sciences. So I put my degree on there. I'm very proud of that one. Gotta hang it up on my wall. Um, so yeah, I did that at Indiana. What else was I? Oh, um, so at like my freshman year at Indiana, so that would be like grade 13, I guess. I lived in the dorms on campus. So basically at when you go to I don't know if you guys have it like this at your guys' universities, but freshmen have to stay on campus like the with the housing that the university provides. So I stayed in a dorm with a roommate. So I had one roommate. We had one bathroom. We shared one room. Like we didn't have our own rooms or anything. So that was kind of my freshman year, living in the dorms. It was and living in the exact vicinity as somebody. Um, oh, you have both kinds. Sorry, I'm just now seeing some of these in the chat. And so then after my freshman year at IU, I got the opportunity to venture off of campus. And so do, I didn't have to live in the housing conditions that the university provided for us. I could go and find my own place to live. So after my freshman year, I decided to move into an apartment with two of my other softball teammates. And I lived with them for 2 years. Um, and then after when my senior year came, so this past year, I moved into a house where I lived with four other girls. So we had five people in one house, which is insane. That's the most roommates I've ever had. And let me just tell you, I've got some really funny stories and it was a great experience, but we fought a lot. We argued like we were sisters and it was a very family atmosphere. But it was funny. We had like our little chores list and things that we would do. So yeah, but now I just ended up moving back home to my hometown. So now I'm living in my parents' house again. So it's so weird being away for 4 years and living on your own or living with like a roommate or a teammate to now coming back and living with your family. It's so strange. So I'm doing that right now. Okay. So, I just wanted to also go over some of like higher education opportunities. So in the United States, we have 2 degrees, which are associate degrees. So it's basically you would go to college for only 2 years. It just depends on the type of program that you get into. Some majors can only be 2 years, which I think is really neat. There's transfer programs, which is like transferring to a four-year institution. So if you wanted to do something where you could start at like a 2-year program and then transfer to a 4-year program and then finish the rest of your college at the 4-year program. A lot of I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends have done that, just based off of like either financials, like it can be very expensive to go to a 4-year program. So starting off and going to a 2-year program and getting your financials where you want them to be and then transferring to a 4-year program. I know a lot of people do that. Um, yeah, and then we obviously have 4-year universities and colleges. Which consist of public and private universities, which I kind of talked a little bit about that with like in high school. So like public universities are state-funded institutions like the University of California, for example, or for me, my sake, Indiana University. It's a public university because it's funded by Indiana, the state of Indiana. And then we have private universities as well. So it's not funded by the state. So there's institutions like Harvard, Stanford, let me think. Oh, Notre Dame. That's in Indiana. They're a private university. Um, which private universities can be so expensive compared to public university. Most earlier I had talked about how I went to state school. State school is another word for saying a public university. All state schools for the most part are public universities. Um and then we also have other routes that you could do, like trade school. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but so it's kind of like, actually I think, yeah, you guys have them like vocational schools, like I think that's what you guys call them. We call it trade school. But it's basically an institution that offers specialized training in like fields like automotive repair, culinary arts, medical technology, electrician, um, things like that. So welding, yeah, so we have that a lot. I know a lot of people will do that because in the United States, like go after going to trade school, yeah, a specific skill in the labor. Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people from my high school would go to trade school, because in the United States, trades are very, it's like a need in the United States right now. So they get paid a lot of money, and so it totally makes sense for some people. Like if they don't think that college is their, if they don't think college is what they want to do and where they want to end up, then I think that going a trade school route is totally like best case scenario, because you can still get certified in something that is a need and get paid quite a bit of money. I know a lots of people that are getting paid a lot of money, more than what I'm making right now. So um and then we also have, yes, yeah. Yeah, in the United States, it's right now the like the supply, yeah, right now the demand for trade is like really big. So they're paying people a lots of money to do work. And so we also have online degree programs for higher education. Um, so these programs are accredited programs from universities offering full degrees online. I think that this is like a really good route, and it's a really neat route to go. I think that depending on your situation and your personal situation, your finances, things like that, like this could be a great route for somebody. Um, I had talked when earlier when I was talking about my family, and about how my mom had went back to school and got her master's. Um, when she went back and got her master's, she actually did a full online program. So because of her situation, she had kids, she had me and my sister to take care of. So it was smarter for her to do an online degree program. Um, and normally these programs aren't really as expensive as going to a university like in person and doing that. So um, I think just depending on the situation, online degree programs can be a great fit for some people, like my mom. So yeah, yeah, the online degree programs are like insane, especially in the United States. Like they are promoting them all the time. Like I will be watching, I will be streaming a TV show, and when it goes to the ads, it's all like ads about bunch of different online programs, and they have so many, and you can do so much with it. Like you can get either like your undergrad or you could get your master's. I just think that it's a nice opportunity for people to have different ways to still go into college without having to dedicate. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. But I think that's a, yeah. Yeah. So funny that you bring that up out, because like integrity and everything being online, like you could kind of just like, you could cheat, I guess. So I mean, that's definitely questionable. I know when I was in college, my freshman year, 2020, which we all know that year, that was the COVID year. So college was very, very different my freshman year at IU. It was just everything was completely online because of COVID. So I didn't have a single in-person class for like a year and a half, maybe. I didn't have an in-person class. Yeah, me too. Me too. Exactly. Me too. No, I am completely guilty. My freshman year at IU, everything was completely online, and so I would get me and like my friends together, and we would be all taking the same classes, and so we would work together on the test when you weren't supposed to be working together on the test, and you know, cheating. So it totally happens. It still happens. I mean, what are you gonna do? The internet is just so easy access nowadays. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do about it. Um, yeah. Okay. Okay. Um, sorry, I'm letting my slide load. Does anybody have any questions so far? I know that was kind of a lot of information. I have a couple more slides to go, but if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to put in the chat, feel free to. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna take a
I'm actually have a couple of questions from our
yeah
members that they cannot participate today. So, but I would say for the like the
for
last your
the
last
end.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that works.
last
Okay,
point. Yeah. Hmm.
sounds good. All this talking, my throat is dry. My mouth is dry. um, Alrighty. So, the next topic I kind of wanted to go over, just like on the education route, is student loans and financial aid. I'm not really sure if you guys have that. Um, so, student loans and financial aid. So in the US we have federal student loans. So these loans are sorry, I didn't really give enough background to all of this. So basically this is money that like either you can get from the state or the government, or you could get it from like outside sources like donors to give you money for school, like a scholarship kind of route. Um so we have um sorry, you want to pull up the chat again? I have to take a Oh, so you guys have to take a loan from the bank or scholarship like you mentioned. So okay. So like in the United States, you can obviously go like a loan route or you can go a financial aid route. So I'll talk about loans first. So, a federal student loan is provided by the US government with fixed interest rates and various payment plans. So you obviously have to pay this back. Anything that is a loan, you have to give back to whoever gave it to you, whether it's um, federal or private. Sorry. Um, so a private student loan, um, yeah. Oh, can you tell me more about going on rotation? What does that mean? Rotation? Um, can you elaborate more on that question? I'm a little confused, but I will totally talk about it. Um, and then so we have private student loans, which is offered by the bank. Um, so these are private lenders where you have to pay them back. So federal is given to you by the government, and then private is uh given to you by banks, where I would assume that's kind of what you guys do, is taking loans from banks. Um, so financial aid, this is the kicker. This is we Oh, really? That's so nice. That is so cool. Yeah, no, in the United States, you pay tuition no matter what, unless you're getting like money for being like super smart or something. Um, so financial aid, uh this is the thing that I was kind of talking about that I thought was really interesting. So, um I guess like my financial aid is kind of like if you're education students, yeah. Yeah. Um so financial aid, it's basically various different types of funding that helps cover the cost of education. So that's like grants and scholarships, work study programs, loans, stuff like that. So financial aid, you can get like essentially gifted money to you, or financial aid can also be like loans again, which nobody really likes to go that route because it's kind of like what Bao was saying, that it's a trap. It's a lot of money to pay back. um, so for scholarships, um, these are like financial or yeah, for scholarships, these are like financial awards based on various criteria such as like academic achievements, athletic ability, or special talents, and they do not have to be repaid at all. So, like for example, me playing softball at Indiana University, I was given an athletic scholarship where I didn't have to pay for my schooling while I was at Indiana, which was super awesome. Um, and then there's also like grants, which is money that is also does not need to be repaid, and it's usually based on financial need. So grants are essentially depending on like your need. So for me, there's this thing in the US called a Pell Grant. And my mom being a single mother and having two kids, um she had a higher financial need than like the average family of a mom, a dad having two incomes and children, if that makes sense. So my mom only having one income to oh yeah, I can talk about that in a second. Um but my mom having one income and to provide for two kids can be very difficult. So for I was fortunate enough to get a grant. Um so yeah, that's kind of what like need-based scholarships are as well. Um um so yeah, need-based scholarships, I kind of just covered that, which is also falls under grants is yes. Is Yeah, I should have put that in there. Thank you. Um, based on like what your family needs. And the government just willingly gives you that money. And then so we have the application, the FAFSA, or if it's the free application for federal student aid. It's also in the chat. Bao put it in there. Thank you for that. Um, so it's basically just a main application for federal financial aid. So students and like your families can fill out this form at the beginning of the year of your like academic year, and it can determine your eligibility for various different types of like scholarships or grants or loans. So it's honestly like a great resource to have, as long as you fill out that application every year by the due date. They will process it. They take in a bunch of different numbers into consideration to understand if you are like um um if you can like basically if you're eligible for like a certain amount of money. So like I would fill out this free application every year, and my mom being a single mom and having two kids, I always qualified for just like a little bit of grant money. every year. So it was super great. But some people will apply for this scholarship or not apply for the scholarship. They'll fill out the application and they won't get any money besides like loan options just because their families are, I guess you could say, like well off and can take care of like their children. Not that my mom can't take care of us, not like that. Just like they have more resources to send their children to higher education, if that makes sense. Yes. Okay, I know somebody had asked a question about my nursing and studying for clinical rotation. I am actually going to touch on that in like 2 slides, so I don't want you to think that I'm going over it right now. So I will get to it, I promise. Okay, so can you guys see this slide? Okay, wait, it hasn't loaded yet. Mm. So here's just a little bit more background about me. So I played softball at Indiana University, like I talked about a little bit earlier. This is just now more in depth. So softball is a sport that is very similar to baseball. I don't know. I know baseball's not a really big thing in Vietnam. But I'm sure you guys have maybe seen it on TV, things like that. But softball is very similar to baseball, except there's just some minor differences. So, like for example, the ball is different. You can kind of see in like one of these photos. I feel like I might have something in here. Okay, no. Sorry. I was trying to see what we had on our mantle. We have like softball stuff all over our house because of me and my sister. Um, but so like a softball is like bigger. You can kind of see in like the bottom left photo, it's like a yellow ball. And then a baseball is smaller and it's white. And then softball is obviously only played with girls or women, and then baseball is a male sport. And then the fences are a little bit shorter. So in baseball, the field is really big. Like the area that they play in is very large, whereas softball, ours is a little bit smaller area. But yeah, so my what just like really influenced me to play college softball was like my main drive was to excel in college sports was just due to how pricey school can be. And I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. And I thought that by getting a scholarship, I would have the opportunity to go to a bigger school. And also, it was just a way for me to take the pressure off of my family, my mom being a single mom, and my dad and my grandparents just would take the pressure of somebody having to spend money on me and sending me to a university. So, as a whole, I kind of just wanted to do it to take the pressure off of my family and myself so I didn't have to pay loans because that sounds so bad. um but yeah, so how did I balance playing a college sport while also keeping good grades in college? I would say, like, at first, it was very difficult trying to manage both school and softball, but, my university was super great, and they gave us lots of different resources to help us manage school on top of playing college sports. So, like, for example, our university would give us access to free tutors, um, and, like, just lots of different group studying opportunities, and even just areas within like the athletic areas, areas like designated specifically for athletes to have quiet time to do their schoolwork. So we were given so many resources to make sure that we didn't get behind in school, and we had um all the opportunities to succeed. We had mandatory study hours actually, being a student athlete that you would have to complete every week, and it was a certain amount of hours depending on what your grades looked like, would depend on how many hours you would do. Um, but, like, in the moment, it can feel like a hassle, but, like, having to sit down and, like, dedicate a certain amount of time to studying, it can be, like, really stressful because you think you have so many other things to do in life. So that was it was stressful in the moment, but I look back on it and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, I think that understanding how to sit down and study and understand to get those time blocks in my day to study, I think just set me up so well to be successful in my schoolwork. So, yeah. Um So, I talked about this a little bit earlier. So I'm doing additional training or additional education. So I have already done my 4 years of college, but now I'm going back and doing an extra 16 months of nursing school at Indiana University, Fort Wayne. Um, so after graduation, I decided to move back to my hometown, which is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and looking to pursue a nursing degree this fall. So I actually start school on Monday. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. So basically, I'll be going to school to get my second bachelor's degree. Um, so I'll be going to Indiana University, Fort Wayne, which is basically so I went to Indiana University, which is the main campus, but I'm going to Indiana University, Fort Wayne, which is just a smaller, we call it branch schools, a smaller portion of the university in different cities. So they have a Fort Wayne location, they have a South Bend location, which is another city in Indiana. So they have just different cities that have a little bit of the university, but not the main campus, if that makes sense, which can limit the majors that you can do, things like that. Um, but yeah, so I took this route because I knew going into college, nursing was what I wanted to go into. But while playing college sports, it would have made the task almost impossible to achieve. I loved my time at Indiana University as a college athlete, but it did come with a cost because I was unable to major in nursing for my undergrad due to the significant amount of time that I would have to dedicate to softball and just the rigorous schedule that I had. I wouldn't have had time to attend games or practices while also going to labs and clinicals and job shadowing. Um, so because of this, I had to basically find a different way to still do what I wanted to do, and pursue the career that I wanted to pursue, while also playing college sports. So I just had to take a longer route, to still going into nursing school. Um, so with that being said, I was able to find several programs where I could do a second degree track, to do additional for nursing. Um, although, like, it was not ideal for me to wanna continue my education for 16 more months after I already just did 4 years, but, I'm totally okay with it because, um, I got to pursue my dream of playing college softball while also getting an education I wanted, so, I had to kind of weigh my pros and cons, and I really wanted to play college softball, so, just had to do a little bit of a different route, which I think is super neat about education. We kinda talked about that, about the different, opportunities of higher education, is there's just so many different things that you can do and so many different ways you can do it, like going to online university, or for my sake, I'm going to a nursing school that normally to complete nursing school, it's a 4-year process, but I'm getting it done in a year and a half. So I'm pushing all of my courses and all of my labs and clinicals all into into 16 months. So it's going to be very hectic for me, but yeah. So I just wanted to go over one of the questions that was asked. Yes, I am studying to be a nurse. And so for clinical, so going on clinical rotation, so I actually start clinical this fall. I start next weekend. So basically I would go into a hospital and work with whoever I am assigned to. So I could be assigned to depending on the nurse, it could be an emergency room nurse or a pediatric nurse or a heart nurse. I would be assigned with that nurse, and I would work with her and follow her around, kind of job shadowing, but I have some types of different certifications, so I'm able to have do more hands-on things, putting IVs in, things like that. So I haven't started yet, but I'm really excited. I wish I had more information about clinical, but um, it's basically being a nurse full time. So it should be interesting. I do clinical every Saturday from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. So long mornings. But yeah. Um, okay. Okay, so finally I just kind of wanted to at each department, how long does it take to pass? Um, so what do you mean by, like, at each department, how long does it take to pass? Like, the course or, um, if I'm not really sure. But, so each course, I take 4 courses a semester. So right now I'm taking 4 courses, and in that course, I have a class that also has the lecture and the clinical. So it's like 2 classes in one. So I go to class and lecture during the weekday, and then I go to clinical on the weekend. So, I basically would be doing these courses from August or no, yeah, from August to December. That's like the time frame for me to pass the class. I think I have to have above a C to pass the class. Anything below a C is considered failing. So I have to keep my grades up. Um, Yeah, so this is my last slide. Kind of just wanted to wrap up just education tips, things that I've learned over the years. I think so studying can be hard, a hard thing to get down. So I think it's really important to understand what your learning style is. Um, Visual, auditory, if you're reading and writing, or kinesthetic, like you like to touch things to like understand how things work, if that makes sense. Um, but, like, once you understand what your learning style is, then I think that you'll be able to find out what works for you and, how that will make you be successful in the long run. So, like, for me personally, I am a reading and writing kind of person. So I like to write things down all the time. Like, I will take pages and pages of notes because that's when I write things down and then I look at it and see it, it like I don't know, it just works with my brain. So that's kind of what I like to do. Like I'll get a big whiteboard out and just write down everything that I need to know about the heart and everything that's important that's going to be on my test. When I write it down and I write it a certain amount of times, then I start to understand it a little bit better. Um yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and then I guess like always make sure to like get ahead of your schoolwork, use a planner or a calendar. I think especially for me right now, using a planner or a calendar is very useful. Um, yes, exactly. Those are the different learning styles. Um, but using a planner and calendar, I think, is so useful, especially me, being in a program where it's a lot of work in a short amount of time. I don't want to miss any due dates. So it's nice to write down all of my due dates in a planner or calendar so I know I don't miss anything. Um, But yeah, I just think that it's important to understand that studying and education is just it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And like if you were a runner and you were getting ready to you would if you were a runner getting ready to go run a marathon, you would register for the race early, give yourself plenty of time for training, like you would be eating right, you would be drinking lots of water, you would be doing things in a long period of time for that one moment. So I think it's just like studying. You should give yourself plenty of time to prepare for your test, to set yourself up to be successful. Um, but yeah, so at my Canto University of Med and Pharma, each department, such as cardiovascular, you have to go to clinical rotation. Oh, during 2 weeks for each. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I haven't started the course yet, so I'm not really sure how it's going to work. I would imagine that I would be kind of like what you were saying, like I would do with like say that I'm doing cardiovascular, I would do a cardiovascular rotation for 2 weeks, and then I would probably do a test, kind of like what you're saying, and then I would go to respiratory department for 2 weeks, and then I would take another test. I'm not exactly 100% sure. I haven't started the course yet. I start on Monday, so um, we'll see. But I would assume that it's something like that. Definitely, there's always have to be a test in there somewhere. Excuse me. But yeah, so that's kind of all I have for you guys. I kind of want to just finish with a Q&A. I know some people have been putting questions in here during the presentation, which is totally fine. But if anybody else has any questions, um, now that we're finished with all of my long spiel, feel free to put them in the chat and let me know. But yeah.
Oh, thank you, Miss Andrew.
Yeah.
It's an eye-opening experience to hear you talking about your family, your education, and like your learning style. Like you say, your
Yeah.
writing and reading learner,
Mhm.
which is kind of like my style too. I like to take notes, but I more prefer to have visual, like having image and
Yeah.
imagining
Yeah.
like into
Yeah.
reality. How I
I
can
also
use it
feel like
and
I'm a little yeah, I think I might be a little visual too because like me being like going into the medical field, like if I'm able to draw out what a kidney looks like and where the places
oh
are on the
yeah.
kidney that I need to know, things like that. So I think that I work a little bit visual, but I write. So, like I like read a lot, but I can write down when I write and keep writing, it just goes into my brain and I don't know, it clicks better in my
Mm,
brain if that makes sense.
yeah, get you on that. So right now is your time, our fellow members. Do you have any question that you can ask Mr. Andrews? I will prioritize your guys' question in the chat box before I ask the question that I already got from other members that sent it to us. Yeah. Okay. While waiting for our members, maybe I will ask some question first. So, uh, one of our member, which is not here, Andrew, asked you. So, it's like related to personal point of view. So,
Yeah.
let me read it. When you encounter a hardship, specifically relate to romance and relationship, what's your way to overcome and to maintain balance?
Yeah.
And she also mentioned because she know U.S. culture is very open minded about love.
Yeah. I think that when I come into a hardship with, I guess, in relationships, I think communication is a really big thing, and
Mm,
I feel like when I was younger, I struggled with that a lot. Um, I I'm very I don't know. I don't really like to put my feelings out there for everybody, so I struggled a lot with communicating on like how I was feeling, things like that. But as like I've gotten older, I've been in relationships, I've learned that it's important to tell that person like what I'm thinking or where my head is at and things. And for it's important for them to tell me how they're feeling. So I think that just communication as a whole is extremely important so you can gain both sides of the in the relationship to understand what can I do better and what can they do better in order for
mm,
it to work, if that makes sense.
mm. Great answer. I think I
Thanks.
also agree for you on that point because the most important thing in a healthy relationship is to maintain uh, communication in
Hmm.
with both sides. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally
for
agree
sure.
with you.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so I see one. Okay, Chung, I have one question for you in the chat. How does the concept of melting pot reflect the cultural diversity of the United States? Melting pot.
Oh god. Melting pot. Let me let me look that up again. I've definitely heard the saying, but let me
I actually have no idea.
yeah,
First
I
time.
know the saying, but I haven't heard it. Okay. Melting pot requires that in order to become one. Oh, so kind of like
Oh,
the American dream
it's like to
kind of
blend
thing.
in with the culture, perhaps. It's like a
Mm.
cultural diversity.
Yeah,
Like,
melting pot can also be used as a metaphor to describe a place where many different people, ideas, races exist together. Yeah, so I think that no, I think the United States is it's very melting pot. Like, I think that culturally, we accept a lot of different cultures. Um, I mean, personally, like, I've kind of gone through, I guess, the melting pot. Like, my most of my family is white, and I'm Black and
mm,
Japanese. And so I had
oh,
to like go through that cultural, um, I guess the cultural like diving into like different cultures. Like a lot of my friends are white. Like I had to learn kind of that kind of
yeah,
aspect of culture, but
cultural,
everybody was so
cultural barrier,
yes, culture barrier. There
culture
we
barrier.
go. Yes. I was like, I cannot come up with the word. But I think that everybody has always just been so nice and welcoming to me personally. And I mean, me being a minority, um, compared to most people in the US or compared to most people in the Midwest, especially in Indiana, being a minority, I've never really had any issues. Um, I think people are just always very culturally accepting of other people.
Hmm. Um,
Um,
I think
oh, here's another question.
elaborate to elaborate that more, I think what I saw just a few days before on like you guys like Democratic National Convention, I see a lot of people color, which is a great thing to
Mhm.
see. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
next question.
Yeah, it says, okay, do you have any plans or
Uh,
goals after finishing your studies? Could you tell us some if there is? Um, so as of right now, after I finish nursing school, I have to take a really big test that confirms that I can be a nurse. So I'm gonna take that test and then hopefully be a nurse. I don't know where life is going to take me. I'm not sure if I will stay in Indiana or if I'll move to a different state, but hopefully I can be a full-time nurse. Yeah, and settle down.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So
I
there's
appreciate
some
that.
question. Okay.
That's that's very nice. Thank you.
Any more question in the chat box, or I will ask another question? Okay, currently no. So what's the second question? What's that light bulb moment that give you the means and motivation to pursue your education? Like your career right now is just study to become a nurse. What's the light bulb moment for you?
Okay. Yeah, uh, ooh. I knew growing up I always wanted to do something in the medical field, and I knew I did not wanna go to school for 10 years to be a doctor. So, I thought, what was the second best thing to still go to the medical field and not go to school for 6 to 10 years? A nurse. So that's kinda where that all sparked, and then, when I was in high school, I got the opportunity to, do job shadowing, um, and with that opportunity, I was able to, shadow, nurses in the labor and delivery unit, which that's where I want to end up is, doing labor and delivery, being there with moms when they're giving birth. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I think that it's mine.
Mm.
Um, but so I got the opportunity to do that, and I remember the very first day I walked in there, and I had no idea what to expect, and they were like, "We're going to do a C-section," and they were like, "You can come to the OR with us." So I went into the operating room and saw a C-section my very first day, and
Shit,
they were like,
that's
"Don't pass
shocking.
out." Yeah, they're like, "Don't pass out. Did you eat any food?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine." And that was my very first experience, and I fell in love with it. And so then I was like, "I have to do it. I have to be a nurse." So, that was my
Wow.
light bulb moment, I guess, was going and seeing a C-section. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think for me to put in your situation immediately to see that maybe gruesome, maybe kind of gruesome scene.
Yeah, yeah, it'll definitely be gruesome, but I don't know. ER can be very gruesome, the emergency room. I don't know if I can do that, seeing crazy people coming into the emergency room with, like, cut off fingers and stuff, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited, though.
Okay. So next question. So it's like a personal question of mine actually. So
Yeah.
I myself find it hard to follow up with a long-term plan. So how would you combat your instinct to dwell and be lazy instead of actually doing the task, which is the problem I
Ah,
facing right now?
yeah. Um, oh, that's tough. Yeah, I don't know. Mm, I think that figuring out what motivates you to complete that plan. So, like, for me, hmm, okay, so, like, for me right now, I I played college sports, so I was always working out, always in the gym, and I have not worked out in, like, 2 months, which is
Oh,
crazy for me. So, right now, my plan is, like, I need to go to the gym, I need to work out. And so I kind of just find things that motivate me to go to the gym. I'm like, oh, well, if I go to the gym, then I can go get this is so bad, but I'm like, if I go to the gym, then I can go get like candy later or like stupid stuff. Like I'm like, if I go to the gym, then I can go get this. So like I try to find like my motivation to like find my reward. So like whatever like your task is, try to figure out like what you're going to get out of it, and that'll keep you motivated to like, keep doing it.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
yeah, it makes total sense. So sometimes I will say to myself, if you don't do it, you won't be satisfy boss, or you won't get the
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, that's good motivation.
Oh.
Like, that's how I am right now. Like, with nursing school, I'm like, "Okay, I have to go to nursing school, and I have to graduate, because if I don't, then my parents are gonna be mad at me." Like, I like, I think about, like, motivation or something
Like,
where I'm like, "I have
like
to go to nursing school
responsibility.
because I wanna." Yeah, I'm like, "I would need to go to nursing school because I wanna make a lot of money." Like, something in that, like I'm like, "Okay, what's the
Mm,
motivation and what's the reward?"
yeah, totally get it.
Yes.
So, any any more question from you guys?
I think it is enough for today
Okay.
for Elia and Drew's sharing session. Yes. Thank you so much, Elia and Drews, for your insightful presentation. You bring about a lot of informative information for our student, especially about cultures and educations, especially one more time in your neuroscience, right? Which is your major. Yes, and I think it's very helpful for our participants today. So again, we thank you so much, yes, for coming. And now we would like to take a photo for
Photo time.
read together.
Photo
Okay.
time.
Yeah, my
Let
laptop
me.
is literally getting ready to die, but I think that it'll make it through. I was just sitting here watching the
Okay.
battery go down this entire time, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to get my charger."
Okay. Let me just arrange my view. Okay.
You count. Hmm? Oh my God. Okay, wait. Okay. One, two, three. Okay. One more time. Right. One,
Hi.
two, three.
Oh,
Uh, I think we are done. Okay, thank you so much again. And
Yeah,
now we'll, yes, I hope,
yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me.
yes, I hope you will have a wonderful day today, right? And we hope to see you again in the future with a lot of more of your stories about your majors, about your learning journey. Yes. Okay, I hope it will be very meaningful.
Yes, thank you
Okay,
so
so
much.
it's a
so now we
pleasure
will
to talk
have
to you,
some.
Alaya. Really do.
What?
Yeah,
It's a
no. I
pleasure to
just say
talk
to
to you.
the
I'm just
yes.
just you know, excited. Yeah.
We
Okay.
have some
Well,
minutes for you guys to take a break. Okay, before we entering the next sharing session of Johnson Fam. Okay, so
all right.
bye
Bye,
Alaya.
guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Mm.
Rồi chúng ta có khoảng 4 phút để giải lao nha, để chúng ta chuyển sang phần chia sẻ của anh Johnson.
Mm.
Rồi các bạn có thể đi
4
uống
minutes
nước hay
break.
đi vệ sinh gì đó trong cái khoảng thời gian này. Johnson, you can, yes, okay, there you go.
Getting ready. Hello, Johnson,
Hello, can you see
Johnson.
me?
Yeah,
Hello,
very
Có
hello.
nghe rõ được không?
clear.
Hello.
Tụi em nghe
Yeah, nghe rõ
rõ.
được.
Okay, how are
Johnson,
you?
Johnson, để em giới thiệu Johnson tí với mấy bạn ha.
Okay.
Johnson là một người Mỹ con. Thường chúng ta quen khái niệm Việt kiều đúng không? Nhưng thực ra Johnson không phải là Việt kiều.
Mỹ con.
Tại vì thường Việt kiều là sinh ra Việt Nam rồi qua nước ngoài sống. Nhưng Mỹ con là người ba mẹ người Việt nhưng
Trên
được
bên
đẻ
đó.
ra ở nước ngoài luôn. Đó, thì Johnson biết nói tiếng Việt bập bẹ thôi chứ cũng không có rành lắm. Nhưng mà nó vẫn giao tiếp được nên mọi người cứ thoải mái buổi hôm nay nha. Thì Johnson vẫn speak English better. So và cái dự án của chúng ta cũng là English project. So just keep communicating in English, okay? Just in case some cases that we feel difficult to explain, right? Okay. Trong lúc mọi người vào thì cũng gửi lên đây một vài thông tin về Johnson. Bây giờ ở bên chỗ anh sống ấy là đang 5:30 sáng đúng không Johnson? Đó là
Đúng
một
rồi,
big
5:30
effort,
sáng.
một big effort của Johnson để tham gia với chúng ta ngày hôm nay. Cho nên là hope you guys will raise a lot of questions to make his day. Yeah, okay.
Cảm ơn em nha. Hello everyone. It's very nice to meet you. Chào các em nha. My name is Johnson. Like Jung just mentioned, I am một Mỹ con sinh ra ở Honolulu, Hawaii. And yeah, let's get started. All right, can we see my screen? Yes.
Okay, now
Okay,
I can see. Very good.
perfect. Okay. So today my presentation will be on discussing the diplomacy between the US and Vietnam. But before we get started, I just wanted to give a little introduction about myself. Again, my name is Johnson Pham. I was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I graduated and attended American University in Washington, D.C., where I received my bachelor's degree in international relations, or Ngoại giao. I worked in U.S. Congress for two years. But later I decided to pursue a teaching English as a foreign language certificate from Georgetown University. My goal in the next few years is to actually go to Vietnam, where I'll be teaching English for a couple years. Anh mới book vé để về 2 tuần nữa, and I'll hope to visit you guys in Cần Thơ or wherever you are in Vietnam. So yeah, that'll be very exciting for me. Any questions before we move on? Okay. So before jumping into my presentation, I also wanted to introduce you to a few vocabulary words that'll help you understand my presentation a little easier. And with that, I'll also be sharing a spreadsheet with you so we can follow along together. But don't worry, we'll be going through the list together. And if you guys click on the link, Jung has graciously helped put together this spreadsheet for me. So thank you so much for helping. The first term we have is diplomacy. Ngoại giao. The art and practice of conducting negotiations between nations. Nghệ thuật và thực hành tiến hành đàm phán giữa các quốc gia. So when you're using it in an example, diplomacy is essential in resolving conflicts between countries without resorting to war. Ngoại giao là điều cần thiết để giải quyết xung đột giữa các quốc gia mà không cần đến chiến tranh. Jung, should we go through each vocabulary word or should I just introduce it to them?
I think you better just go through them, and the participants
Okay.
will see themselves. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
They will see themselves.
Okay, so the next từ we have is diplomacy, ngoại giao. Mutual trust, niềm tin lẫn nhau. Normalization, bình thường hóa. Reconciliation, hòa giải. International security, an ninh quốc tế. Economic partnership, quan hệ đối tác kinh tế. People to people ties, quan hệ nhân dân. Cultural exchange, trao đổi văn hóa. And peaceful dialogue, đối thoại hòa bình. Okay, move on to, as you're going through the presentation, if you need to refer back to the spreadsheet, please do so. So first off, I want to talk about the legacies of the Vietnam War. I know, I don't know if you are familiar with the Vietnam War or the ending of the Vietnam War, but following the fall of Saigon in 1975, the United States and Vietnam basically had no relationship. Some legacies included environmental contamination, chemicals that the US dropped, Agent Orange, all throughout the country. We have unexploded ordnance. I'm sorry, I do have a translation for you right here. Environmental contamination, ô nhiễm môi trường. Unexploded ordnance, vật hoặc là bom chưa nổ. Right? We also have mass migration of Vietnamese refugees. Di cư. My parents were refugees from Vietnam and they settled in the United States. And we also have the trade
Yes.
embargo. Trade embargo, cấm vận giao thương. And
Yes,
with
ở cái
the
slide
trade
này á, các
embargo,
bạn Johnson đang cố gắng để các bạn hình dung được thêm cái bối cảnh của Việt Nam và Mỹ đã có những cái sự kiện gì với nhau. Thì Johnson đang dẫn lại những cái legacy đó từ cái chiến tranh Việt Nam. Thì cái chiến tranh Vietnam War này là cái cuộc chiến tranh giữa Việt Nam và Mỹ. Thì đã có những cái Fall of Saigon nè, rồi đập màu da cam, rồi những cái mìn bom tung xuống Việt Nam đồ này kia đó, rồi những cái cuộc di dân, gọi là đi gọi gì, đi đi cái gì ta, cái từ tiếng Việt tự nhiên cái quên ngang rồi, đi gọi là cái mass migration đó, đi gì
Đi tị ấy là đi tị nạn, đi
tệ
di
nạn,
cư,
đúng rồi.
tị nạn di cư, ý là gọi là
một cái
lên,
từ tự
gọi
nhiên
là
cái quên.
cái đó là kiểu như là người ta sẽ giống như là ở bên Bảo á, là hồi xưa cũng bên nhà ngoại á, kiểu như là cũng có một số họ hàng kiểu như họ trốn lên thuyền á, mấy cái thuyền để chở hàng để đi qua Canada hay là qua Mỹ. Nó thuộc dạng đó.
Đúng rồi, tin nhắn lên đó, cái word đó, nó gọi là đi vượt biên đấy. Rồi
Vượt
đó
biên.
thì Johnson đang nhắc lại một vài những cái sự kiện liên quan đến Vietnam War giữa Việt Nam và Mỹ thôi. Okay, you can keep going.
Thank you so much for the translation. And the reason for me bringing this up is to sort of describe the relationship between the United States and Vietnam after the war. After the U.S. withdrew its troops from Vietnam, they really didn't have any contact or relations for 20 plus years. These legacies have led to mistrust and antagonism, antipathy towards one another. That is until 1994, when US President Bill Clinton reestablished bilateral relations between the two countries, leading to normalization of US Vietnamese relations and reconciliation. So, when we talk about normalization of US Vietnam relations, we can sort of categorize them into three different aspects. One of it would be strategic or political. So, over the past 30 years, the relationship between the US and Vietnam has undergone a huge transformation from enemies to now really good friends. And in one area where they're strong partners in is the strategic aspect. So the United States and Vietnam share similar concerns on China's aggression in the South China Sea and Mekong River. These common international security goals have led to bilateral defense cooperation and dialogues between the two countries. Any questions? Okay. In the next category, we have economic partnership. So in 1986, I think that was the year Vietnam has launched the Đổi mới reforms, where they supported and accelerated the normalization between the two countries. This economic transformation has led to more bilateral trade between the two countries, and large amounts of foreign investment to flow into the country. And now today, the United States is Vietnam's largest trading partner, the biggest of all Southeast Asian countries. And the other aspect that I really wanted to dive into today, essentially, is the diplomatic aspect, the people-to-people ties, which I think is the most important factor that helped normalize relations between countries. It helped to increase mutual trust, more diplomatic engagements, and more peaceful dialogues between the two countries. So these diplomatic initiatives that they help put forward help to facilitate people-to-people ties, which included educational exchanges, cultural exchanges, tourism, and just having dialogue together. So jumping into educational exchange, in 2023, there were about 30,000 Vietnamese students studying abroad in the US. I know in Hawaii alone, we have a few hundred from Vietnam, from all over Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, Da Nang, all studying at the University of Hawaii. We also have university partnerships between American and Vietnamese universities. The Fulbright University in Vietnam, I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about it, in Saigon, was actually a result between the collaboration between Harvard University and the university in Saigon. And it's the first nonprofit university there is. And we also have the American Center in Hanoi, located in the Giao Viễn Ngoại giao Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam, where they help to educate students about American culture, help students study and learn English collaboratively, and also to have conversations with US leadership. And we also have the Fulbright Scholarship, which I hope to apply for next year. The Fulbright Scholarship sends Americans to Vietnam, where they will be helping Vietnamese communities learn about agriculture, learn about studying English, studying health, the results of Agent Orange, HIV, medical health. We also have the cultural exchanges. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about the Young Southeast Asia Leaders Initiative, or YSEALI network. As of today, I think as of this year, more than 25,000 young Vietnamese are members of this network. This helps to promote leadership, cultural exchanges, and networking among Southeast Asian youth. Similar to that initiative, we have the International Visitor Leadership Program, the IVLP. Same mission. They help to promote leadership and cultural exchanges between the US and Southeast Asian countries. And last but not least, we have the Peace Corps volunteers. Very similar to the Fulbright Scholarship. In the previous slide, this talks about volunteers that are American that go to different underdeveloped countries throughout the world, including Vietnam. They are placed in a lot of villages throughout the country where they'll be helping to build infrastructure, to build educational systems, build just more sustainable, community resilient networks throughout Vietnam. For tourism, just a little bit of statistics. In 2011, only 48,000 Vietnamese tourists visited the United States. But by 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic, tourists from Vietnam increased to 132,000. So from 48,000 to 132,000, significant jump. And as for American tourism in Vietnam, in 2023, Vietnam welcomed approximately 717,000 American visitors. And the last aspect of people-to-people ties, we have peaceful dialogues. We have a lot of organizations or 중전, such as the United States Institute of Peace, where they conduct dialogues on war legacies and reconciliation. They invite government and youth leadership, as well as students, to participate in peaceful dialogues with American leaders. So yeah, this sort of wraps up or concludes my presentation. But before jumping into this question, I just wanted to talk about next year, 2025. In that year, the US and Vietnam will celebrate two important anniversaries. One, the 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War in 1975. And two, the normalization of US-Vietnamese relations for 30 years. So these anniversaries help to reflect the two countries' long journey towards strong bilateral partnerships and people-to-people connections today. And when we talk about Vietnam after the war, Vietnam used to be one of the world's poorest and isolated countries. No countries wanted to trade with them. The US basically just shut Vietnam out. But when we look at it today, Vietnam is strong power. It is a middle income country with a dynamic young population such as yourselves with a bright future ahead. And so as we continue to see the relationship prosper throughout the years, I want to end this presentation with a question for you, the next generation of Vietnamese leaders. How can you become global citizens and lead Vietnam into the future? And with that, that concludes my presentation.
All right, cool. So now is the time for questions of the participants with Johnson fam. All right. I think there will be a lot of questions revolving around your sharing. Because I think it's a kind of a new topic, or it's unfamiliar topic to with the participants. Like, yes, before getting the questions from you guys, I want to ask some questions for Justin. All right. I see right in the first slide you said about the legacies of Vietnam War, such as environmental contamination and Asian orange and the like, right? I think it's continued to affect the U.S.-Vietnam relations. Up to now, yes. It's always a miserable a misery when mentioning them. So how have these issues been addressed diplomatically? Yes, between two governments, how have these issues been addressed?
No, that's a really good question. I would say to start off this response, Vietnam's relationship with the US is not perfect. We still have a lot of problems. There's still a lot of mistrust. Considering, Vietnam's government, I don't want to jump into it. Hopefully, the government is not listening in. But Vietnam and U.S. Does share a strong partnership today. However, they still have a lot of mistrust between each other. But regarding the legacies of the Vietnam War, they have launched, or I would say started, a lot of initiatives or efforts to reduce the impact left by these legacies. So for environmental contamination, Agent Orange, they have launched programs to take care of the environment, to clean the environment. Unexploded ordnance, Bom Chưa Nao, they had teams that collaborated together to essentially monitor and clean the country, especially in places where not a lot of Vietnamese people live in, right? So forests, jungles. So a lot of efforts to clean the country, get rid of these chemicals and get rid of these bombs. We have mass migration of Vietnamese refugees. That still is a sensitive topic, especially for a lot of the refugee communities living in the U.S. However, the younger generation, I think I had a conversation during the last time I saw him, but we talked about the young populations and how they perceive U.S. and Vietnamese relationships. They are not so they're not really aware of what happened back then. And with that, I think that really helps in connecting the two communities together. A lot of Vietnamese Americans, for example, me, I don't really view Vietnam as the bad guy. And as for Jung, he doesn't really view the US as the bad guy. We live in a totally different society back then. And when you see it's been 30 years since the end of, or 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. So a lot of minds have changed throughout that period. And a lot of our sort of anger towards one another has been reduced. And with these sort of mass migration. Oops, sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So with the refugee communities here, we're still keeping in touch with our families back in Vietnam. We are still making the effort to return home to our homeland, to be connected with it culturally, be connected with it, with its people. And yeah, there's been a lot of dialogues between the refugees here and the Vietnamese leadership, Vietnamese government. But I think what helps is the communities of of Vietnam and the community in America.
Mhm.
And with trade, that's a big thing too. When the US sort of lifted its trade embargo, when we normalized relations in the 1990s, Vietnam has experienced such a significant growth in development, in trade, in income. Before, people were, I don't want to assume, but people were living very in poverty. They were living in villages. But now we see cities like Saigon. We see cities like Hanoi. It's huge. Lots of investment, lots of business being conducted, lots of international visitors coming into the country because we see Vietnam's potential now compared to back then. And
Mm.
so, ever since we welcomed Vietnam into the international trade environment, Vietnam has experienced such a significant growth. We see a lot more people living more happily, and see people like you prospering in the country. Okay.
Okay. Um, as one more aspect in the reality of the refugees as well as the exchange students in the America, when they when they live in your country in the US, right? Or they studying abroad in your country, so they um you said you have mentioned about the people to people ties, right? And how the American treat the exchange students and like the refugees like your family and how they treat in the reality. Okay.
So, is your question when Vietnamese people come to study in the United States, how do Vietnamese Americans interact with người từ Việt Nam?
Yes.
Um, in terms of studying, các em du học sinh, we don't really have there is really no hatred or anger. I think that's the most important part. If we talk about the older generation, like my mom and dad, if we talk about going back to Vietnam or uh, living
Yes.
in the country in the future,
Yes.
we do receive a lot more. I want to keep this sensitive, but we do receive a lot more pushback from our goals of going back to Vietnam. However, when people are studying here in the United States from Vietnam, yeah, we want what's best for Vietnamese national. We want to see them succeed. We want them to see them go back to their home countries to help, affect change. Because you guys are, Vietnam's future leaders. You guys are the next generation of Vietnam. And
Okay.
so what we want is what's best for you guys. And so we do
Okay.
a lot for, especially for people visiting from Vietnam. We do help a lot of uh, national studying here, uh, financially, educationally. Yeah.
Wonderful. Để mình tóm tắt lại cái phần mà mình vừa mới hỏi Johnson với về những cái vấn đề liên quan đến ngoại giao Mỹ và Việt Nam một chút. Mình hỏi ấy là khi á mà giữa Mỹ và Việt Nam có một cái mối quan hệ trong quá khứ như vậy á, thì các bạn du học sinh đi qua học bên đó thì trên thực tế là các bạn bị đối xử nó có nó có tốt không? Các bạn có được đối xử tốt hay không? Rồi kiểu những cái người di cư qua ở bên đó sống, gọi là khi nãy chúng ta gọi là vượt biên đấy, thì họ họ bị đối xử nó có tệ hay không? Thì Johnson nói á là đối với những cái thế hệ như chúng ta khi qua đó học, là một cái thế hệ rất là tốt, rất là nhiều tiềm năng thì qua bên đó họ rất là đón chào, rất là welcome chúng ta, không có, thụ hằn, giận dữ gì cả. Cho nên là cứ, open-minded khi mà chúng ta có một cái mong muốn đi, du học ở bên Mỹ. Tuy nhiên đối với một cái thế hệ cũ trước đó ấy, ví dụ như thời thế hệ của ba mẹ Johnson đi chẳng hạn, thì, ở một cái chiều ngược lại, thì khi qua bên đó rồi thì rất lại là không có, có nhiều cái sự hoan hỉ á, không có, gọi là, không có vui vẻ gì khi mà nhắc đến, việc quay trở lại Việt Nam. Tại vì nó trở thành một cái ấn tượng xấu. Thì các bạn nào gia đình mà có những cái người mà sống trong cái thời kỳ đó, trải qua những cái nỗi đau chiến tranh, rồi mất mát, rồi gia đình ly tán, vượt biên các kiểu, thì, các bạn hỏi thêm thì các bạn sẽ rõ cái chỗ này. Thì Johnson cũng, muốn, giữ, một chút, ờm, ít ít thông tin chỗ này thôi, tại vì nói ra thì nó hơi sensitive, nó hơi nhạy cảm một chút. Alright. Các bạn, I see one questions in the chat box, from Tinh Châu. In review, what are the necessary qualities for working in the international relations field? And what did you learn from, or benefit from your previous job? Hope to hear some of your experience.
Oh, that's a really good question. So necessary qualities for working in international relations. The most important qualities I would say is communication, clear communication. You want to be able to get across what you want, what you want to understand what the other parties want. You want to understand what your dialogue partners want, and you want to be able to compromise, come together, establish some consensus to create a collaborative project together. I think a lot of the diplomatic initiatives between the U.S. and Vietnam has been created through clear communication. What are the problems that we need to address? War legacies, trade, development of Vietnam. How can we best achieve them? More trade, economic partnerships, strategic partnerships. And what do we need to do? We need educational exchanges. We need to sponsor Vietnamese nationals to come to the United States to study so they can understand American culture, they can gain the world experience or world knowledge that they need to take back to Vietnam so they can best inform, let's say, the Vietnamese government, Vietnamese companies, the future of Vietnam. Clear communication. The second quality I would say is perseverance, as in encouragement. So a lot of the times, international relations can be very frustrating when we see, for example, the U.S. and Vietnam's relationship. Like I mentioned, they're not all perfect. And so when it's not perfect, we have a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of, I would say, anger by the communities. If there is anger among the communities towards each other's countries, we need to push through or persevere through those problems that we have. And yeah, I would say world knowledge is a very important quality to have. For me, because I live in Hawaii, I think you guys heard of this term, but we are actually the melting pot in the Pacific Ocean. Our little island is home to so many different ethnicities, so many different races. A lot of Filipinos, a lot of Polynesians, Micronesians, a lot of people from Châu Á. We have, I think, population of Vietnamese people here is 4 to 5%. That's a lot of people. Japanese people, Chinese people. So when you grow up in an environment like this, you see so many interactions between people of different cultures, people of different ethnicities, different people, a lot of communities of different backgrounds. And so when you interact and when you have peaceful conversations with these people, you start to see the differences, right? And when you see these differences, you start cultivating or creating a sense of world knowledge that'll best help you get through studying international relations. You always want to keep an open mind when you go into this field. Because when you're talking to different countries, if you're sort of stuck in your mind, Vietnam is the best, the United States is the best, we are always right. No, that is not right. What we want to do is we want to make sure we understand each other. Right? And there's the second question: what did you learn from or benefit from your previous job? So, yeah, I worked for U.S. Congress for 2 years, and I don't know if you're familiar with the U.S. government, but we have uh, the president, we have U.S. Congress, and then we have judicial branch. So the law of the land. So I worked in the U.S. Congress, and each U.S. Congress we have 435 representatives. We have 100 senators, two from each state, and for representatives we have a certain number depending how big your state is. So for Hawaii, because we're very small, we have two representatives. I worked for one of the representatives. We did policy work, and I did constituent casework. So describing that a little bit, for constituent casework, we represent the community of Hawaii, right? If they have problems with the US government, they would come to us. They would say, I'm having problems with this, having problems with my giấy or đơn bảo lãnh, my thuế, my benefits from the government. And so we would contact the president's office and we would say, hey, they need help here. Why are you not helping my people? And so, yes, congressional casework. Thank you for mentioning that. So that's what I do. We do a lot of casework here in Hawaii. We help the community and help Hawaii become a better place. And so when we're taking this experience, you're communicating with the cultural environment of Hawaii. Many different people contact our office for help. And so when you take this experience and you apply it to the international relations field, it's very similar in that case. You're communicating with people and you're just wanting to help the world become a better place. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Okay, thank you. I see right now in the box chat, there are a lot of people typing. I think they are
If
gonna
you have a
ask
lot
some
of
questions.
questions, mình đừng có ngại nghe, cứ hỏi.
So you can just move to the slide you asked the participants. Okay.
Sure.
The question I think is very very useful for the participant to consider themselves. How can we become the global citizens and future leaders of Vietnam? You can type in the answer into the chat box when you don't have any more questions to raise. We can discuss more. We would have more discussion on that.
So when my reason for bringing up this question, it was sort of last minute. I wanted to sort of congratulate you guys on, pursuing your studies, having a goal to reach. And when you reach that goal, everyone, that goal contributes to helping advance Vietnam society, helping advance and strengthen Vietnam's community. Even if it's, working at a store or working in business, working for the government, we all have a role to play in society. And when you bring that role to the globe, to international relations, where do you see yourself in that environment? How can you best make the world a better place as Vietnam's future leader?
Okay, I see the small but pivotal questions to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
A
I
subject
didn't
that many
realize that.
Vietnamese students. Have you
Discrimination.
ever felt discriminated against or seen discrimination?
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about in Mỹ or in Vietnam? In Mỹ. It really depends where you live. So in Hawaii, there's a lot of people in Hawaii were immigrants. So a lot of people from Japan, China, Philippines, Vietnam. So we don't really experience a lot of discrimination growing up because everyone here is Asian. But if you're living, say, where your previous speaker, Aaliyah, was living in Indiana, a lot of discrimination because the dominant population there is the white population, người Mỹ trắng, hoặc là người Mỹ đen. And so when you're living in that sort of environment, they don't really understand the culture of Vietnam's culture, of any other Asian cultures. But I would say it has been a lot better now than it was before. There's been Stop Asian Hate rallies, protests to help support the Asian community in America. People with TikTok, people with Instagram. They make a lot of TikToks or reels about understanding each other's cultures. So when people watch through them, they're like, "Oh wow, that's a fun fact that I now know, and I can now be sensitive when discussing that topic." So power of social media is very important, I would say, in understanding each other's cultures. But yeah, there has been some discrimination that I've experienced throughout my life. But compared to those living in like, so Hawaii là một cái đảo đúng không? We're very far away from đất liền or the actual nước Mỹ. So when you're living there, it's a lot more conservative. And regarding did you have times where you were told no? Yes, a lot of times. I actually, yeah, there were a lot of jobs that I applied for, didn't get. It's a very competitive field. Ngoại giao, muốn làm cho chính phủ even, very competitive. But if you just keep pushing through, main thing, perseverance and communication. Helped me get through a lot of the problems that I was facing, and a lot of connections too. Because I knew this person, who was friends with my previous boss. I was able to get the job offer. And just being the best version of yourself, being a genuine person. I had a goal of helping Hawaii's community. I had a goal of helping to make the world a better place. And so when they hear that, they would want to hire you because you have a clear goal. You want to make the world a better place, and you're not just doing it for the money, right? And yeah.
Okay. I think we have one more questions. Did you have the times you were told no or weren't included?
Oh yeah.
Weren't
I just
chosen?
answered that.
All right. Okay.
May
Okay. Okay.
like oh I don't yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any more question? Now we are coming to the midnight, so I think
Oh yeah.
we are
Yeah,
we're
I do
gonna
wanna
sleepy.
so before we end, uh, feel free to take a screenshot of this, take a picture. But if you need any help with studying English or reviewing essays, applying for US funded scholarships or leadership programs like the YSEALI network, or preparing for studying abroad in the US, please contact me. Or ask
Okay.
Taijung for my information.
All right. Our honor to receive your help. Okay, so I think we should take a photo together now. Okay, so let me count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Hmm, Wait. It's loading. It's loading. Oh my God, it's loading and I can't see anyone.
Oh, my camera
Okay.
is so mờ.
Anh em mà nó xoay vòng luôn rồi, hết thấy rồi. Mọi người còn thấy gì không vậy nhỉ?
It's okay, mình chụp hình bữa khác đi, đâu có sao đâu. Mai mốt mình về Việt
Trời
Nam
đất
mình chụp
ơi,
hình
trời, tự
ở
nhiên
nhà
cái buổi
ha.
khác vô cái tụm lại cái chụp hình xong cái đi ra hả?
Để Bảo chụp
Ờ,
máy Bảo này.
Bảo
Okay.
chụp giùm nha, bên Chương xoay rồi.
Should I stop?
Ngồi Chương.
Okay.
Chờ xíu. Rồi. Chờ xíu ha. 1, 2, 3. Rồi. Okay.
Okay. I know you guys are tired, but mai mốt anh về Việt Nam á, mình cứ contact anh. I'm very nice. If you have any questions, please let me know. And thank you so much for
Okay.
having me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you a lot, Johnson. Johnson là một người rất là friendly các bạn. Johnson rất là thích nói chuyện với người khác nhưng mà với điều kiện là người khác phải bắt chuyện trước chứ Johnson không có bắt chuyện trước các bạn đâu. Cho nên là mình find cái điều đó khá là interesting á. Tại vì cái lần đó mình cũng bắt chuyện với Johnson, mình mới nói chuyện được với Johnson chứ không là không ai làm quen được với Johnson đâu.
That's not true. No.
All right. Okay, so that also concludes our session for today. We have covered a lot of insightful information about the diplomacy between Vietnam and US, right? And especially for both of our speakers, they all share their knowledge with us today, and I think they are all very precious to the participants of our project. We hope you all would find it informative and engaging. A big thank you to Justin again, and to all of you for participating in our sharing session today. Okay, so hope to see you again, Johnson, in the near future when you come back to Vietnam or we can meet virtually like that. We will have more stories to tell to each other, to share about the learning journey, about the journey to become the Vietnam leaders, Yes, and I think it would make the world much better than the present.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
so
good night. Thank you again.
okay,
Bye bye.
goodbye, Johnson, and good night, everyone. If you have any more feedback, just send me. Okay, so
Goodbye,
bye,
everyone.
bye for now.